Okay, so you're here because you want to cut through the noise, right? Get right to the core of what's important without getting buried in details. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty transformative in video. It's
Yeah.
all about AI in video editing. We've looked at sources covering these, cutting-edge tools, changing how creators work. Our mission really is simple. Pull out the key stuff about these AI tools, figure out their actual impact and what it all means if you make videos. There's a whole range of these tools popping up, and we want to give you a clear picture of what you need to know.
It really is a transformative time. For so long, making videos just meant, well, sinking a huge amount of time and effort into it. What's really interesting now is how AI is starting to tackle that fundamental problem.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, just think about the hours, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
days just on the basic editing, the cuts, the trims, fiddling with adjustments. It's massive. And that's exactly where AI seems to be making its pitch, promising to give creators that time back, taking over the tedious stuff.
Exactly. Freeing them up to think about the bigger picture, the story, connecting with their audience, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because time is always the bottleneck, isn't it, for pretty much anyone creating content.
It really is. So any tech that genuinely reduces that load, lets them focus on the narrative, the strategy, engaging people, that's huge.
Okay, so let's get specific. Talk about some of these tools. Adobe Sensei, that's inside Adobe Premiere Pro, gets mentioned a lot. And the auto reframe feature sounds incredibly useful. What's the deal with that?
Auto reframe is incredibly practical for today's world where you need video everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all different shapes and sizes.
Right, different aspect ratios.
Exactly. And traditionally, making versions for each platform was, frankly, a pain. Manually reframing, cropping, making sure you don't cut off someone's head.
Oh yeah, a total time sink. Re-editing, essentially the same video over and over.
Precisely. But auto reframe uses AI, specifically things like object detection, to analyze the video. It's been trained to see what's important: faces, objects, action, and then it intelligently crops and reformats for those different platforms.
So it keeps the main subject in view automatically.
Yes. It pretty much eliminates that whole manual reframing task. It's a massive time saver, and it makes sure your video looks good wherever people see it. It really shifts things towards being multi-platform first.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for anyone juggling social media.
Oh.
Cool. Now, another tool mentioned is Descript. This seems a bit different, more focused on audio and maybe text-based editing.
Yeah, Descript is very user-focused, and one standout feature is overdub. It's AI voice cloning. Basically, you give it some samples of your voice, it learns it, and then you can type text. And it generates audio that sounds, well, remarkably like you.
Wow, okay, so if I mess up a word while recording or want to add something later,
You might not need to re-record, no. You could potentially just type the correction or the addition.
that's pretty wild.
For podcasters, video creators, anyone needing a quick fix, it's super efficient. You avoid setting everything up again, trying to match the tone. You just type it.
Huge advantage for quick turnarounds.
Okay.
And doesn't Descript also do something with filler words, those ums and us?
That's right. It can automatically detect and just zap those filler words, the ums,
Mhm.
us. It's subtle, maybe, but it really helps polish the final audio, makes it sound more professional.
Without you having to manually hunt them all down.
Exactly. Again, it's about saving time and improving the end product with less manual effort.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Runway ML. This sounds maybe a bit more advanced, like a suite of tools.
Runway ML does offer a broader set of AI capabilities, yes. And one really interesting one is their green screen removal. Normally, you need an actual green screen, the right lighting, careful setup.
Which can be a hassle or just not practical sometimes,
Mm.
especially for smaller creators.
Totally. But Runway's AI can analyze the video footage and basically isolate the subject from the background without a physical green screen.
How does it manage that?
It uses AI, trained models again, to intelligently figure out what's the person or object in the foreground and what's the background. Then it digitally removes the background. It makes achieving that clean, professional look much more accessible. You don't need all the expensive kit.
That really does lower the barrier to entry for more sophisticated effects.
Impressive.
Okay, and then there was Magisto. Sounds like an app aimed at maybe a different user.
Yeah, Magisto is positioned as an AI-driven video editing app. The whole idea there is speed and simplicity. You basically feed it your raw clips, maybe pick a style or mood,
Uh-huh.
and the AI does most of the heavy lifting. It analyzes the footage, picks out what it thinks are the best moments, adds music, effects, transitions, and boom, polished video.
So Almost like point-and-shoot video editing.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great for, say, social media influencers, small businesses, anyone needing decent-looking video content fast without getting bogged down in complex software.
Okay, so we've seen these different tools, reframing, voice cloning, background removal, automated editing. How do they actually do it? What's the tech making it possible?
Well, fundamentally, it all comes down to machine learning. And usually, a specific type called deep learning. It's about computers learning from data, huge amounts of data.
So not explicitly programming every single rule.
Exactly. They're trained on just vast libraries of videos and images. The AI systems learn to recognize patterns, like what a face looks like and how it moves for auto reframe, or the sonic characteristics of a voice for overdub, or the difference between a person and their backdrop for green screen removal.
Right. It learns by seeing millions of examples.
Precisely. And then it applies that learned knowledge to the new video you give it, allowing it to make these intelligent editing or enhancement decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. It's pattern recognition on a massive scale. So, thinking about the bigger picture then,
Yeah.
what's the overall impact of all this AI entering the video space?
I think one of the biggest impacts, as we've sort of touched on, is accessibility. It's definitely lowering the barrier to creating professional-looking video.
Right, you don't necessarily need years of training or super expensive gear anymore.
Exactly. It's democratizing it in a way. Whether you're a vlogger, a small business owner making ads, even maybe filmmakers experimenting, these tools put more power in more hands.
You can create pretty stunning stuff with less traditional effort or resources.
For sure, it potentially opens the door for a much wider range of people to tell stories visually, could lead to more diverse content overall.
This inevitably brings up those bigger questions, doesn't it? About,
Yeah.
human creativity. Are human editors going to be replaced?
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, and it's a discussion happening across many creative fields, not just video.
Yeah.
Can AI replicate the nuance, the judgment, the artistic sensibility of a skilled human editor? Will it cost jobs?
Those are definitely the thorny questions. On one hand, the efficiency is undeniable. On the other, there's that human touch, the storytelling instinct.
Exactly. And right now, I think the consensus is that while AI is amazing for automating the technical, often tedious parts, the core creative decisions, crafting the narrative arc, evoking specific emotions through cuts and timing, that's still very much in the human domain.
So the AI is more like a powerful assistant.
At the moment, largely yes. It handles the grunt work, freeing up the human editor to focus on the higher level creative aspects. But the tools are here, they're getting better, and they're definitely changing the workflow. They're not going away.
Okay, so if we boil it all down, what's the main takeaway here about AI in video editing?
The core message is that these AI tools are fundamentally changing how video content gets made. They're automating tasks, making the whole process more accessible, and ultimately empowering creators to make better content faster.
Right. So for you listening, if you're involved in making videos in any way, shape, or form, these tools are worth paying attention to. They could genuinely streamline your process, save you time, help you create more polished work.
And that brings us to maybe a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. What is this evolving relationship between AI and human creativity going to look like, especially in video? As AI gets better and handles more, what does that mean for the future of content itself?
Yeah, and crucially, what's the unique role that human artistry, human perspective, will continue to play in a world where the tech can do so much?
Exactly. Those are the big questions shaping the future of this field.
Definitely some compelling things to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI video editing. We hope we gave you some